like it gave us that proof of concept that like basically gave us the balls to go to do the next one. So like the next one, we bought 3 properties in a package deal.
Aloha, what's up? What's up, everybody? My man Will in here. Let's get you in. We are in Arizona, looking at some property. What's up, everybody? Excited about today because we are interviewing Tony and Dakota, you guys. I have known these guys for about a year now, and they're an interesting duo out of Fort Wayne, Indiana. These guys are crushing it. I think they did like over 50 deals last year. They're buying a bunch of rentals, and they're going to talk a lot about how to, look at smaller markets. Maybe all of us are used to, we're in Southern California. We also do deals in Hawaii, and these guys are, I mean, they're a deadly combination. I think you guys are going to learn a lot by listening to what they have to say. So, what's up, my man? My deal maker partner. What's up, Will?
Man, just excited to be out here in Arizona. I mean, like you said earlier here, like, big business trip out here, big business moves out here, and just been really exciting to be out here and network with all of our, people that we've met along this journey, right? And I think, like you said, this is going to be a killer webinar this week with a couple of guys that we've met along the journey, Tony and Dakota. These guys are absolute studs. And, one thing that we wanted to focus on with this webinar in particular is like the cost point of acquisitions, right? Because everybody says like LA, it's such a hard market. Like, how are you guys flipping out there? But, these guys in Fort Wayne, Indiana, it's exactly the opposite, right? So these are guys that are flipping at a much lower price point, but still just as successful as we are. And even more successful in certain rights, and holding rentals and hitting their own goals that they've set up for themselves. So this should be a great chance to kind of see another duo, another partnership, kind of how they're making things work on their
Yeah. And whether you're, attending the webinar, you guys, because you want to learn about the smaller markets, invest for rentals, and you're, want to do an out-of-state investing, or you want to see if there's other ways for you to flip property out of state, I think these guys are going to be a great example of having complementary skill sets, of getting after it and not making excuses, because I think one of them worked full-time in the sales position, and then he was able to quit his full-time job. So that's, an inspiration, right? Because so many people in this business, and when you're starting out, you want to stop working for the man, or stop working that 9 to 5 in corporate America, because you see something greater for yourself. I think these guys are a great example of that. And overall, they're just great dudes. I mean, and we're actually, just so you guys know, we're at a meetup right now in between that kind of, we're in Arizona at some other investors meetup. They were so gracious enough to let us do this webinar from their office. And so you guys probably see some of that stuff on IG afterwards, but dude, this is gonna be a great webinar interviewing these guys.
Yeah, and like you said, we're out here in Arizona, and the main reason for that is to look at this property that we're looking to purchase. But same thing with this webinar, guys. Like, we do our virtual open house networking week every week. When we do that, that's a great chance to network and meet other people. And as Alex mentioned, like if we hadn't met these people and created these relationships along the way, then we might not be doing this webinar from an office. We might be doing it from our car, outside of the meetup, because we wanted to do both those things. So because we were able to kind of meet and make those lasting relationships, I think that's why we're able to do this the way that we are. And again, it's a kudos to you, Alex, being out there and always being active and posting, and also just the fact that we're doing these big meetups ourselves, and so we're kind of getting interactions with these other folks. So before we dive into the webinar, Alex, I know we mentioned the meetup last week, but like, what's been going on in your life, man? Like, what's the last week look like?
Yeah, so I flew in, and we had that. I flew in from Maui. Well, actually, no, I'm sorry. I was in Oahu, and I flew direct from Oahu to LA, and we had an amazing meetup there. Close to 200 people attended. It's at this creative venue that my brother and his business partner have in downtown Los Angeles, and it was just the energy in that building and all the people connecting. It's to me, it hypes me up to see a room full of people that want a better life, that have some things going on, that are talking to people that want to start this business, and people that are intermediate, that are kind of connecting the dots together. And that type of stuff is super inspirational to me, because I know how I felt when I really wanted it at the beginning. And so I feel like we're really fostering an environment for people to have those discussions, to build those connections, to ask those questions, to people, and they might seem like dumb questions to someone that doesn't know the business, but when you're talking to more advanced people, and you could lean on their experience, it's just so valuable when you're getting started, or when you're along your journey. So we're definitely good. Oh, and we gave away a trip to Hawaii, to Maui, in that, and it was a frenzy. So I'm glad that we got to do that. This was the first time we've done it, and I'm going to be able to have dinner with that couple, that investor couple in Maui, sometime at the end of this month, beginning of March. Also, on another note, the reason I was in Oahu is because we locked up our first deal in Oahu. I think Tristan and Kamohai are on the call, and so we got our first deal in Waianae. We literally are buying a house on the beach, on the water, like the ocean is across the street. It is going to be a long-term hold. The area is a little bit rough, but Hawaii rough is very different than LA rough. So I see the potential for the long-term hold appreciation, how that area might change. So I'm excited about that deal. Also, this past weekend, I went down to Huntington Beach and attended this Albert Preciado driven event. It was a business boot camp. I got to meet some amazing entrepreneurs from across the country. We got in a great setting. This guy, Albert Preciado, has a huge brand and a mortgage real estate in Southern California, very Latino based. And so wanted to tap into that network, and I'm glad I did. You guys, this is a constant thing, right? We're investing into relationships, and we're investing into being around people that are doing things at a higher level, and it never really ends. Just like your journey never really ends, it's really just it's a constant growth that we're looking for. And so did that, and then also just wanted to kind of shout out to we're taking on some new money partners. So we've been closing. We closed on 2 deals last week, so we brought on some new partners for for those deals, new money partners. And so our lenders partners have been incredible. So we're so grateful for those people that they're betting on us. They're getting great returns, and they're passive investors, but at the same time they're helping us grow the business, and they're growing alongside with us. And then also,
I love how you said that, Alex, right? Like they're growing alongside with us, because like tomorrow I'm actually going on a full trip with 2 of our private lenders up to go check out their houses, right? The properties that they lent on. We're going to go into those houses together. They're going to get to pick apart the property, look at what it looks like, see what we're planning on, get an idea for it, and actually get to see their investment hands-on, which is very important for people in that passive investment strategy. If you're looking to get into investing and you start in a passive way, you're often doing that so that you can get in yourself. And this is a great chance for those investors to, again, kind of get to come up, see these properties in person, and kind of see what it is that we're doing that makes these properties work. So I'm excited.
Yeah, and several of our, I want to make a note of that. Several of our current team members invested in deals, and then because they had that VIP treatment, right? They had the access to us, and then eventually we were able to figure out a better way for us, or an enhanced way, more of a way for us to work together. And so we've been growing with those lenders, and now they're team members of ours, and so that's incredible to be able to make money with people and work with them in the long term basis, like we are with those money partners. But on the big win is that we locked in our first multifamily deal. That's why we were here in Phoenix. Yeah, you're better at that than I am. But 18-unit deal, value add play, Central Phoenix, in an up and coming area. We're it's definitely going to be the next level, and there's definitely getting some growing pains, but we know we got this, and that's why we decided to take the deal down. I had to send over a non-refundable deposit of over $100,000, which the most I've ever done before in the past was $2,500 for like a non-refundable deposit. But we highly vetted the deal, and then we've done inspections, everything checked out. So we're pumped. This is going to be passive income. This is going to be help with tax strategy. This is going to get our foot in the door in the market here that we want to be in for long-term investing in Phoenix. So just hitting so many of the things that we're looking for our buying criteria for long-term holds. So I'm excited about that. And then I'll be leaving tomorrow down to Guadalajara just for a couple of weeks, or maybe I think it's just 10 days to kind of finish up I have my penthouse down there, and so I upgraded, and so I'm going to be helping with the design, helping with everything furnished. Now it's a 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath, so then I can host other people down there, and we're looking to do our mastermind down there. And then so I know you couldn't visit me because it was a 1-bedroom. Now you can go down there with me, and so that's gonna be fun. And then I'll be coming back up to Sedona at the end of the month for another mastermind with Brandon Turner and a bunch of the gang there. So I'm pumped. Let's get it.
should be a killer finish up to the month here for you, Alex. And you know, again, the one thing I just wanted to kind of point out there is like you are still spending money on mentors and coaching. You know, as far along as you've come and grown the business, you know, you're still looking to get better and to, you know, pair up with these people. So whether it's, you know, Preciado's driven event or going out with Brandon Turner for this, you know, Sedona event, this is, you know, a continuation of networking with these high level people that can help you grow your business. And, you know, I think that's what we're kind of trying to do here with
those two events will $15,000. You know, I mean, there were like 6 and then, you know, 8, but then like one of them includes housing, the other one that didn't, and then, you know, just call it $15,000 for those 2 events. But the thing is, I only need one good idea or one deal or one way of making the business better for that to have a return on investment. And you better believe, and the more masterminds, the more courses, the more things that you actually are part of that you can successfully execute, the better you get at those, you know, masterminds, at those at network, at follow, at nurturing those higher level relationships that are different than some of these other relationships that I have in my life because they require a different type of nurturing. So just wanted you guys to remind, like, I do not love spending $15,000 on, you know, a combined of like 6 days of my life. That's a lot of money, but I've seen it in the past and I continue to see it. That's why we keep doing it, because it works.
Good stuff, man. And you know, again, I think you doubled down on what works, and you know, if you don't know how to work it, you know, invest in somebody that does know how to work it, and they can kind of help guide you along the way. So good stuff there, guys. That's again kind of why we continue to put on this webinar week in and week out, is you know, to kind of help people out as much as we can. Obviously, you know, not paid, you know, our time is limited, and so we're not able to dive in, you know, every week for 10 hours a week, but man, an hour a week, you sure can learn a lot. And I'm excited to learn a lot from these guys that we have on the call today. So let's go ahead and, Alex, if you make me host, what we'll do is we will go ahead and get some folks welcomed onto the screen. In the meantime, guys, if you are in the webinar, if you could just go ahead and let us know in the chat where it is that you are coming from, where you're tuning in from, and that way we can kind of you know, get a little bit better of an idea of who it is that we're connecting with here on the call. And in the meantime, like I said, we'll go ahead and welcome our special guests to the screen today. We've got some killers on here. We got Tony and Dakota joining us today, so extremely excited to have these guys on.
What up?
Studio. What's up?
What's up?
What's up, fellas? How are you doing?
Well, I actually am in my car. Alex was talking about how he got an office. I just got done dropping my daughter off. And so I stopped by the gas station on my way home just to talk to you guys.
And we appreciate you, man. I know, like you said, you know, family first, and obviously, you know, your friends second. So we appreciate you taking some time here to hang out with us. We appreciate your friendship, brother. Dakota, what's up with you, man? It looks like you have the luxury of being at the office as opposed to being in the car. So how are things for you, man?
Good, man. I just got done playing a ping pong game. I was like, I was looking at it. We just got a ping pong table. We had somebody else on our podcast, and they said that it helps for team building and stuff. I was like, all right, I've been wanting a ping pong table for a while. So right before this, I was like, all right, I think I got enough time. So I played a game real quick, and, you know, I'm undefeated in the office. So
love to hear it, bro. Love to hear it. Well, you know what, guys, I mean, again, the reason why we want to bring on Tony and Dakota, these are guys that we've been connected with for a good amount of time now, coming up on 1.5 years, 2 years now, through a mentorship that we're all a part of, the Future Flipper, you know, program with Ryan Pineda. We're all coaches in that program at this point now. And so, you know, again, we thought it'd be really beneficial to bring in a couple of these really impressive coaches that are not only coaching, you know, groups of individuals from the Ryan Pineda show, but they have their own podcast, and they're developing a really big business with, you know, multiple employees that have come out and we've gotten to meet and hang out with on the Wet Masterminds as well. So these are guys that are doing it and doing it right. And that's why we wanted to bring these guys on and kind of get some insight from them. So one more big welcome for Tony and Dakota, and let's get some things kicked off here.
Yeah, sure.
So I know I gave a brief intro, but Dakota, Tony, we'd love to hear from you guys, you know, individually at first, kind of where you guys started, because I know you guys both have some different stories on how you guys ended up in real estate investing. But we'd love to just kind of hear where you guys started from, and you know, where you guys are at now, and kind of how things have gotten there.
you guys want the 1 minute, 5 minute, 10 minute version?
we'll go with the 5 to 10 minute, because, you know, again, I know you guys got 2 stories, which are both really incredible. So yeah, let's shoot for a good little 5, 10 minutes and get to know you guys.
Cool. Tony, you can go first. Oh, maybe he froze.
All right. Did I?
Oh, you're
No,
good.
you're looking good on my
Hey,
end.
good?
Am I good?
Yeah, we can hear
Oh,
you.
okay. All right. Yeah, I maybe like, you know, I don't know, 6 years ago, I was leaving college and I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to be in the 9 to 5. I got into a government service program called AmeriCorps, and I happened upon a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad in Barnes and Noble. I read half of it one day. I didn't have enough money to buy it, so I came back and I read the second half the second day. And I came back from AmeriCorps and told Dakota about the books that I had read. And I was always about personal development, self-help, business and finance. Like I wanted to be able to like realize my human potential somehow. And I felt like Rich Dad Poor Dad spelled it out. It was like the red pill in the Matrix. Like that was the way. So I finally had an answer, but I didn't know how I was going to get started. So went to some seminars, read some more books, listened to more podcasts, probably for way too long. Like it took me 3.5 years of doing that before a friend of ours reached out, Logan, and just noticed that Dakota was doing really well at car sales and said, "Hey, Dakota, you ever thought of flipping houses?" Dakota was like, "Yeah, we've been thinking about it for like 3.5 years. Actually, I'm going to bring my friend Tony if we're going to talk about starting a business." So that's where we got started. Was the L and LTD is no longer with LTD, but he was the mechanism that got us to be like, all right, let's actually like figure this out. Let's get some bandit signs. Let's go to some sheriff sales. Let's do something. Like let's try and figure out how to buy houses and either flip them or keep them as rentals. Before that, though, I was just going from job to job to job. So even after we started the business, it was still a 1.5 years before Dakota finally looked at me jumping from job to job and was like, "Hey, man, why don't you just try to figure out how to make the business some money, and then we can afford to pay you. Like if you can make the business 10 grand, 20 grand, like we can afford to pay you what you're making at these $13, $14 an hour jobs. I think you should just work for the business full time." So I left my, jobs where I was making the same amount of money. So it was pretty easy for me to leave. I was still scared to death the first few weeks, but quickly got a couple deals and started putting some money together, and the proof of concept was there early on. So then since then, we've just scaled repeatedly in different ways. I feel like there were critical junctures where there was an exponential change in our output, like the amount of deals we're producing, the amount of money we're producing. I feel like we're still exponentially exploding whenever we find something and implement it. So that's kind of where we're at now. Still growing.
Awesome,
What
awesome,
a
dude.
killer story.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And so what about you, Dakota? How did you get started, and what's your side of the story, so we get a little bit more context on your side? Because I know you were working for, you had a full-time gig. You were very successful in the car sales industry, and so that wasn't easy for you to leave because you were making money. And also, I think it was helpful with lending and keeping so many rentals. Because I know you guys have a great portfolio. How was it from your end?
Yeah. So I'll go back to even in the beginning. When I grew up, we grew up like ridiculously poor. Like it was ridiculous. Like we all shared bathwater. There's 6 kids. Like we didn't have heat a lot of the time. So grew up super poor. And then, my parents taught me the same thing, work hard and get a good job, go to college, and bam, you're going to do it. And then, I got in high school and I would consider myself kind of a rebel and got in a lot of trouble. And all the teachers were like, you're going to, end up in jail. Like, you're not going to do anything with your life. And it was just interesting. And then immediately, as soon as I graduated, I just got a job. I was working at aftercare for minimum wage, just working with kids at the YMCA. I loved it. And then I also had another job doing landscaping, and then I worked for the street department as well. So I started off just working like 60 to 70 hours a week. ever since I was 18 and just started hitting the ground running, just working as hard as I could. I knew I always wanted to own my own business. And so I thought landscaping was going to be that. I did that, didn't work. And then every single winter I had to find a job. And I was going from factories to driving, like, we drove all the way to Texas to try to get a job. Like, dude, I was doing whatever I could to survive and like literally barely surviving. But then ended up getting in car sales. It was between car sales and a trailer factory. And I ended up doing sales because I was like, this is what I'd rather be doing. And honestly, it actually happened because I went to church on Sunday and there was an older lady that I've been mowing her lawn for like 2 years. She didn't know who I was. And I've talked to her so many times, but she didn't recognize me because like of the way that I was dressed and, I was dirty and stuff. I was like, you know what? I'd rather like dress nice and like, actually be in an environment where people know me and I get to talk to people because I like talking to people. So ended up taking a sales job. Started off making $220 net a week for the first 2 months while I was in training. And this is after I already spent, 2 months looking for a job and barely scraping by. So dude, I was really close to going under. But after I got out of training, I was just freaking, dude, I had no idea what I was doing, but I was running after customers and I was talking to as many people as I could. I'd get them down to the table and they're like, yeah, that payment's too high for me. I was like, okay. And I just walk away. Like, dude, I was not a closer. I was a horrible salesperson, but I had the drive. And from that, my first month, I actually ended up selling 16 cars my first month, which on average, the average car salesman sells somewhere between like 10 and 12 is like average. It's okay. I sold 16 my first month, which really pissed people off because, I was 20 years old. And just, selling 16, and most people haven't even sold that much, but they made fun of me because the manager had to close all my deals. So the manager came down to actually close them and stuff. But, I learned a lot. Like I started listening to Grant Cardone because he's a sales trainer and for car sales specifically. So I started listening to a lot of his and I practiced every single day, saying this stuff out loud, being repetitive and just like doing this stuff. And like, dude, I was all in. Started reading self-help books, and then that's how I started reading the ones about real estate and stuff, but really tried to master sales first. And I feel like I did that. I was salesperson of the year 4 years in a row. I had like 18 consecutive salesperson of the months, which means that you sold more than every other person. And I almost did an entire year, but I took 2 vacations in October and one guy beat me by a car. And I was like, man, but I almost had an entire year in a row, but I really wanted to do that. But yeah, I just really tried to master something first and then I go on to the next thing. So I feel like I mastered that. And then Tony, introduced me to Rich Dad Poor Dad, read that book. And that felt like it put words to what I was already feeling because, I started saving up money and I saved up like 30 grand. But then I'm like, dude, like now I don't know what to do with this money. And like, realistically, I'm not very free. I was working 60 to 65 hours a week. I was making amazing money. And, I was doing what my parents always taught me get a job, make a lot of money. And that's what it takes to be successful. So I was like, dude, I did it. Got divorced. Actually, my wife left me because I was working so much and I was creating no freedom for myself. I'm like, commission sales is like, you're always going to the next one and there's no residual at all. So that was where I really took a shift. And then I also got in a disagreement with a manager and got fired like that. I always thought that, as long as you're producing and making them money, man, my job is secure and I don't drink, I don't party, I don't do crazy stuff. So I was like, there's guys that go to jail for a month and come back and still have a job. So I was like, dude, they're not going to fire me. Well, they fired me. That was another reason I was like, all right, I need to have a job. So then I go to another dealership, which is in the same group, and started doing both. So I was doing full-time sales and we were doing real estate on the side. And that was when Tony really helped because he was running around signing all the docs and stuff. And then I had enough freedom because I was selling enough cars. At that time, I was usually selling somewhere between 20 and 25 cars while still doing the business. So every time that we had to look at a house, I just leave, drive and go look at the house, come back, and then go from there. There's be times that I'd close the deal because I did finally eventually get good at closing. I'd close the deal. I'm like, all right, Tony, do the paperwork. I got to go back to work. And yeah, and it was very difficult to leave because I was making 6 figures. I was doing what my parents taught me was the definition of success, but it wasn't what I actually wanted for my life. So that was what I found out after doing is like, man, this isn't what I want to do the rest of my life. This is not it. And I'm just following what other people's vision is for me. So I was like, yeah, this isn't it. So I left a job that honestly I enjoyed. I loved the guys I was working with. I was making a lot of money. It was fun for me, but it didn't ultimately give me the lifestyle I wanted. I couldn't go to future flipper events because I was like, oh, I can't take that much time off work. And there's just a certain freedom that you didn't have. So yeah, left the job in April, and yeah, I just feel like we really excelled since then, and we grew our team, hired some people, and we're taking off.
Alex, you're on mute.
Sorry, guys. Dude, that's awesome. And so like, I guess my immediate question is like, so what did like those first couple of deals look like for you guys? Were they like, you guys bought them as rentals right away, or you flipped a couple deals and then made some money, or because it sounded like you guys were kind of, a lot of things were happening, but you took the action, got a couple of deals on your belt. Well, what did that kind of look like initially?
Yeah. So at first, when we first had that meeting, so it was me, Tony, and Logan. Tony was like, dude, Logan brought this whole paper that we are going to go over a business plan. Tony's like, dude, throw that out. We're not doing this bull crap. Let's get started. And so Tony created a Google My Business number and said, let's order bandit signs. So that's how we found our first deal, is we got a Google My Business and we got bandit signs, because Tony's like, dude, let's take immediate action right now. And so we started getting phone calls, and I was already in sales at this time. So I'm already used to taking phone calls. And for me, that's the best way to get it going, is like, if something's happening and like somebody says, hey, I want to sell my house, or I need help, basically is what it sounds like to me. When somebody says, I want to sell my house, it's like, hey, I have a problem that I need to solve. And for me, I like to like figure out how to help them. So Tony did his job, which is basically the marketing. And then I took the phone call, and I'm like, all right, let's go look at it. We looked at the first property, and it was a property that we ended up just, basically wholetailing. But we had no idea what we were doing then. And it was kind of like in a rougher area and stuff. So yeah, we flipped that one. And I remember the other guys were kind of freaking out a lot, and Tony could tell the rest of the story if he wants to tell. I probably missed like 5 details.
Yeah, that first deal was funny. And one thing Dakota left out too is that it's not my personality at all just to be like, hey guys, screw that business plan, let's go. But I had been thinking about it for 3.5 years or so, reading too many books, and I was just like, dude, it's time to do something. So I had read My Life in 1,000 Houses and heard about the bandit signs, and then I knew that they worked because I worked a job at JD Byrider selling bad credit cards to people at 21% interest. And so I knew those bandit signs worked because people called us off of those who needed a car. So anyways, we got a call from a lady who was semi-famous. She was a gospel singer out of Fort Wayne, Indiana, which was hilarious. She's got a song that's pretty popular. Do you remember her name, Dakota?
Yeah, Amanda Perez. She got a song named Angel. Yeah.
So we met a celebrity. That was the first person we bought a property from, was a local celebrity. We didn't even know it. And when I went to put my portion of the money in, I had a $10,000 credit card at 0%. And we did some manufactured spending. So Dakota taught me how to do it. You take debit cards, you buy prepaid debit cards with credit. Then you take those debit cards and you turn them into money orders. Then you take the money orders and you put it in your bank account. You can only do 4 $500 cards per day. The only place that'll let you do it is CVS. And the ones you should use are Visa, Vanilla One. Maybe don't do that. But I took $2,000 and put it in my bank account. And then I was supposed to get 9 because the house was 27.5. So my contribution was going to be 9,000. The second day, I started getting second thoughts, and I was like, man, this is in one of the worst crime areas, like in our city. Man, my dad is like giving me all these doubts. My mom is giving me all these doubts. Like I had a girlfriend at home who was going to be my wife soon. And I was just like, oh, dude, I don't know if I can do this. So I sent a message to our group chat with me, Logan, and Dakota. And Dakota sent me a personal message like, dude, stop putting that stuff in the chat. And then he called me and was like, listen, you're going to be part of this. Like, I want you to be part of this. Will you at least leave your 2,000 in? If you'll leave your 2,000 in, I'll cover your 7, but don't tell Logan that I'm going to do this for you. So Dakota went to bat for me and believed in me. And he was the majority of the funding. So then We listed the property for 50. We didn't know what the heck we were doing. We just listed it for 50. We got an offer for 40, and we were like, okay, well, we'll take this offer. And the appraisal came back at 36, and Dakota was like, no, we'll list it again. I don't give a crap. It's definitely worth at least 40. And then Logan and I were both like, I don't know. I think we should take the quick win. I think it'd be really nice if we could just get our money back, Dakota. And then Dakota's like, I wish that I could just tell Logan that I have more money in the deal than him. And then I put in Tony's portion, but he had to keep it a secret. So that was kind of funny. We just heard somebody else just sold that property again. And we still kind of wish that we had it because it was nice for what it was. Like, and even for it being the rough part of town, like, we have like 20, 30 houses in the rough part of town now. So it's not even a big deal to us anymore. But at the time, I was scared to death. So for some of you folks that are out there that are scared to death, don't worry. I was too. It's normal. Do it anyways.
I want to make a point because the reason we asked kind of about the first deal, and I think a lot of people talk about this, their first deal. I don't remember what my second or third deal really looks like, right? I don't know if you guys remember in this granular detail of your second or third deal either. The reason why the first one is so important, I found with investors, because that's the proof of concept. That's your starting point. That's like, oh man, I knew I could do this. And I still remember the lady's name. I still remember the situation. I still remember the address of the property. But again, I don't remember the number 2 or 3 that much because it was number 1 that was so freaking meaningful to me because it would just prove to me that like, I knew I could do this. And it sounds like for you guys, the same thing. Both of you went to different details of the deal, but it got you off the ground. And then the rest is history. If you never get your first deal, then I mean, you're not going to be in this business. So I'm sure Will can also attest to that.
Yeah, on my first deal, I can tell you the address, I can tell you the whole story, everything about it. So I agree. And, again, I think the main reason why we like to ask that question, Alex, is because that first deal, it takes a lot to get to that, right? Like you heard Tony, 3.5 years of, just reading and dissecting books and Dakota on the same end, like a lot of, back work to get there. Dakota, you can even argue, was preparing for this moment for the several years while he was doing car sales, because again, he had identified, hey man, for me to start taking action, I need to find something that I'm good at. And it's not landscaping, it's not this other stuff. It's hey man, I'm good at talking to people. And sometimes it's just as simple as that. Like, hey, if you're good at talking to people, talk to as many people as you can in a day. And if you talk to as many people as you can in that day, you might have an opportunity to hit your plate. And so, again, I think your guys' story is a clear example of how perseverance can lead to results, and B, how taking that action, whether it's small action, putting out bandit signs, again, it's a calculated effort, right? It's, hey man, Tony has seen these bandit signs work in another industry. Why wouldn't it work for this industry? Like, we read a book where it worked for these other investors. We're driving around Fort Wayne and we don't see any of these signs. Like, why don't we put some of these out here and use both of our skills, mine being time for Tony and Dakota's being, hey, I'm a killer on the phone. I can close people now. I finally learned how to close a car. I don't need my manager anymore. Like, let's see if we can use both those skills. So great first story, guys, and first flip. And I think there's a lot of people here in the webinar and that'll be listening in on this on YouTube that'll have similar backgrounds to you guys.
Yeah. And I'll say one other thing that I want to say on what Alex said was just like, yeah, we remember our next deal, but like you said, like it gave us that proof of concept that like basically gave us the balls to go to do the next one. So like the next one, we bought 3 properties in a package deal. Well, like 2 was with one guy and 1 was with another person. But like that first deal, getting through that, then all right, let's go. So that definitely, like getting through the first one is definitely, that's the game changer.
Yeah, definitely.
I like how Tony was like, just get our money back. Like, let's just get the money back, man. Like, if we can just get it back, we're good.
Awesome. No, and one last thing I will say is like, you see how Tony was saying like, oh man, people were putting doubts into my mind, like my family, and it happens, you guys. So it's like you're going against the grain so often. That's why it's so important that you put yourself around people that are going to push you, put yourself around people that are doing it. Because I didn't have the same situation, but I do remember like being a little bit ashamed of not making any money at first and not telling very many people. I wasn't, you guys know I'm on social media a lot now, but back when I first started, I wasn't, because frankly, I didn't know it was going to work. And I was so ashamed of how little money I was making compared to what I usually make, because I'm good in sales and I've made good money before. And so I was just like, kind of like, I don't want to tell anybody anything until I actually get deals and actually start making some money. And I was only making $1,500 a deal at the very beginning, and then a salary of $2,500 or $3,000. I don't remember, but it was very little. But I did want to switch gears a little bit, just because I know you guys are in a smaller market. You guys are in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and we are in a kind of larger market. I think a lot of the people that are on the I wouldn't say the attendees are generally from bigger markets, but I think there's a tremendous advantage, and there's so many ways to get rich and wealthy in this business and in real estate investing. And even if you're in a smaller town, I've done deals in smaller towns. As a matter of fact, a lot of the deals that we do right now are in the not the cool part of Los Angeles County. They're in the desert part of Los Angeles County. And at the beginning, people were like, what the hell are you guys doing out there? Like, why are you guys going out there? But we build a little bit of a brand around that we're buying in certain areas. So can you guys talk a little bit about what you guys feel are your pros, cons, and kind of your experience investing primarily in a market that isn't a huge metropolis such as Los Angeles or Dallas or New York and all these bigger markets?
We just had the Boakley brothers on our podcast not too long ago, and those guys flip luxury in Las Vegas. And when we were talking to them, they said, yeah, man, our option is to flip it or flip it. Like, we can't keep this as a rental. We can't even Airbnb it and make the money that we need to make off of it. So we don't have a choice. And for us, that sounds like semi-terrifying. That'd be a limiting belief on us, because like, I especially like to have multiple exit strategies. And that's one of the benefits of being in a smaller market. It's like our rental properties generally are following close to the 2% rule. If you're buying in the rougher parts, like if you're buying toward the place where a lot of crime happens, you can get near 2% rule. Which means, if you're buying a house for 50 grand, it's going to rent for $1,000 a month.
Damn.
Well,
we're getting close to the 3% rule on the one that we're buying in Huntington. We're buying it for 25. It's rented for 700.
That's crazy.
You guys hear numbers? And again, guys, like their first ever flip bought, in the 20s, selling in the 40s. So I mean, like these are numbers that are way different than those $1 million flips that you're hearing about the Boakley brothers doing, right? And I agree with you, Tony. Like having those multiple exit strategies works, and I think that's what's allowed you guys to build such a quality portfolio, right? Because you're not forced to just flip. You guys have kept now several or multiple numbers of these as rental properties now, correct?
Yeah.
How many total do we have, Dakota?
Honestly, I'm not even sure now. We just put 13 under contract today. So we're buying a quadplex, a triplex, and 3 duplexes. We bought all of those for $260,000. So it's $20,000 a door, which is crazy. They're a little bit on the suburb of Fort Wayne. So, but I think right now I'm going to guess we have somewhere around somewhere between 40 and 45. I don't know the exact, and it depends on what we keep and what we flip. But one other thing that I do want to mention is the nice things about being in a lower end market is obviously one is like the fear of, the larger numbers. That's definitely a thing. But one of the disadvantages I say is I want to get a duplex in Phoenix. And I was looking at the pricing, and honestly, I got a little nervous, and I don't usually get nervous about stuff. But, in 2018, I'm watching these, properties that went for 200. Now they're selling for 550, 600. I'm like, oh, snap. If I buy, it can go down a lot more. So that's one disadvantage is our appreciation is not very high. Our safety net is a lot bigger. It's harder to lose where we're at because, you buy $100,000 house, it goes down 25%. Doesn't really change anything for us. You do that over, $1 million, that's kind of a big deal. So I would say that's the biggest disadvantage to being in a smaller market is appreciation is really not a thing. And even if it is, it's not significant enough to matter. So we just go really heavy on the cash flow and try to make it work that way. And obviously the tax advantages and other things like that, but.
Good stuff. And again, I think like you said, there's disadvantages, there's pros. What kind of has made this market so successful for you guys? Like what has made it that you guys were able to tap into this market and just continuously, find these deals that are fitting your buy box and that you guys are able to perform on and that you guys are able to execute on?
I think that we both specialize and have gotten better over time. Dakota being a master salesperson was huge early on because we would get deals and not even know if they were deals. We became known as wholesalers. We intended to be landlords, and everybody in our real estate investors association knew us as wholesalers because we were giving deals away and we didn't know it. Like, we were giving people stupid good deals. And then one guy would just take our properties and then sell them to somebody else on seller financing. Like, we would buy deals for like $8,000. He would turn around, buy them from us for 17, and then seller finance them to somebody for 30 at 9%. And so we were really whacking ourselves when we first got started because we could have just bought those deals and did a cash out refinance immediately if we knew the banks that we knew now. But I would say early on, it was Dakota being a master salesperson, us doing consistent marketing and building our business and scaling our marketing. Like, marketing and sales are so big, and we were doing direct to seller, and I feel like we hit the wave of that being popular, where our main competition was like 4 guys who were millionaires and then us who had no money versus all the other people around us who had no money, who were like, how are you guys doing that? And like, we were doing the exact same thing these other millionaires were doing. It's just, we were just little guys. We didn't even know. We just thought that's what you had to do to get deals, which honestly it kind of was. The way that we wanted to buy them, because our numbers were hyper conservative too. Like, most of the properties that we've bought, like, you would look at some of the deals that we bought and went like, holy crap, how'd you guys get that cheap?
Yeah, but I would say the other part of it would obviously be, Ryan Pineda talks a lot about how marketing is its own business in itself. And honestly, sales is its own business. So Tony and I think, matched up really well in the beginning, and we had no idea that it was going to work out like that. But Tony always had these marketing ideas, like, okay, we're going to do written letters, we're going to do this. And like, he even tried doing that in the car business. And honestly, it didn't work very well in the car business, but it works really well in the houses. So he's always kind of had that marketing, brain, and like read a lot of books about it. So dude, we just threw money at marketing and then seen what worked. And basically Tony ran that side of the business, and then I handled the other side. And that's kind of the way that we grew it in the beginning. We were just doing everything. But yeah, I definitely think that marketing in itself is basically like running like a whole nother business.
So is it safe to say that you guys have really kind of been focusing heavily on the off-market, direct-to-seller marketing? And have you guys, you were doing bandit signs, and what other strategies have been really working for you? And I know it's a moving target, right? Where it's like, okay, it's something's working and not. Can you kind of highlight a little bit of what you guys have learned and or what you guys have done in that space? Because I think that's where most of the deeper discounts usually come from.
Yeah, we're up to about $10,000 a month in marketing spend now. About 3,000 of that is on a commercial, TV commercial. That's a better hit rate. So, if you get 10 phone calls, 4 of those are deals, versus sending out mailers that look handwritten. My mom actually handwrites in the people's name, and then the address that we're looking to buy, folds it 3 times and puts our address on the outside of it. And those are more like, 1 out of every 10 calls is good, or 1 out of every 20. Sometimes when we hit a bad list and everybody's yelling at us to take them off our marketing list so we don't send them another letter. But, we're sending out 1,000 a week, and those cost about $1 each. So that's about, $4,000 a month on letters, $3,000 a month on the TV commercials. We're doing texting, mass texting through batch leads. And then we also are doing cold calling through call tools, not very heavy on the call tools side as far as cold calling. It's more just to keep our texter good on the phone, keeping him familiar with the cold calling script. But we have gotten deals off of that too. So our primary one that's working the best is texting. Texting is getting harder and harder to do because it's getting more and more regulated, and they're shutting. You can't say shot in the dark. You can't say out of the blue. You can't say properties, seller, buyer, buying. So texting is getting more difficult, but that's been the most recent one that we've been the most profitable on. So, early on it was bandit signs. Then everybody started doing bandit signs. That went down. Mailers were doing great. Now mailers are kind of starting to fall off. Texting is going great now. I don't know what the next thing is. Maybe it's TV. We're going to get on a different channel and try it.
Yeah. And I would say one other thing that I'd like to add to that is Ari Simply, which I know you guys are affiliated with them. I would definitely recommend like tracking this. Whenever you do this, Ari Simply actually has a way that you can put a phone number in. That way, when you're doing your bandit signs, hey, this came from a bandit sign. That now this came from a TV ad. So if you're going to spend money in marketing, at least try to track and know where those are coming in from, because we tried a lot of stuff and some of them were pretty obvious that it wasn't working, but it's hard to find out which one's working the best.
Yeah, I think that's a fantastic point. The common term is KPIs, right? Like key performance indicators, and we've tracked those often too. I'm a little, I can't say I'm jealous because I don't really have that emotion, but like when other people are having success with direct to seller, I'm like, damn, why can't we figure it out? Because we are great at other areas of acquisition. So, but rather than keep on dumping money to something that's not working, we've seen the numbers and say, hey, we're better at the MLS, at networking, at buying from wholesalers, and then just I think understanding your unfair advantage or understanding what you do better, and then look at the numbers and then just making a logical decision is really, as an investor, that's your best friend. Because I think very often I see people get in love with this idea of like, oh, I got to be good at this. As I did the same thing, like, oh, I have to get good at direct to seller marketing. And one of the first things that Ryan told me when I joined the coaching program, he looked at where I was getting my deals, looked how much I was spending in marketing. He's like, yo, dude, you're not making any type of consistent deal flow with its direct to seller. You're already good at social media. You're already good at MLS. You're already good at networking. Why don't you double down on that? And then when I did that, things just really started to improve, because I was very frustrated. I'm like, you're spending thousands of dollars and it's not working. You can be very discouraging. So I don't think it's like one size fits all. I think it's more of like, okay, well, this is working for us now, but we're gonna keep tracking it. And if it's working well, we're gonna do it more. And if it gets worse, then we're gonna keep a close eye on it. And then we're gonna adjust and then either eliminate it or reduce that and keep on doubling on what is working. And I think it seems like you guys have done a great job of that, because you have been doing a lot of direct to seller marketing. Now, are you guys marketing to like all types of product types, or is it just like mainly like SFRs? I don't want to get too granular, but I'm just kind of curious, because since you're a smaller market, what property owners are you marketing to?
When we started, I would just grab the tax sale list and I would go through it and send them a text message, then call them, then send them a face video, add them on Facebook, send them a Facebook message, send them an email. Like, I was smashing the tax sale list because I knew that there was a deal in there. There's 300 to 3,000 on that list, and those people are going to lose their houses next year. Like, they're 1 year away from losing their houses forever. And you don't get on the tax list on accident like you usually have done. You're kind of far. You're not being very responsible if you end up on the tax sale list. So that's how granular the marketing was when we got started, as well as, pulling lists that were like vacant, absentee owned properties that are also tax delinquent. Like, I was stacking multiple layers of motivation on PropStream, on batch leads, on list source. And then now we're to the point where we have a sales guy who sends 1,000 texts a day and does 100 calls a day. And so I got to keep him busy. So, we're pulling like 100,000 records at this point. So somewhere in the middle was, hey, let's just do vacants this month. Hey, let's just do absentee owners with 50% equity this month. Hey, let's just do, mortgage foreclosures this month. But, now we're to the point where it's like, man, if we can get more deals, let's get all the deals.
Love it. And I know, a big part of that is the KPIs, right? Like you were saying earlier, it's like 1 out of every 20 of these we're hitting, 1 out of every 4 of these we're hitting. So, if you don't know where those are, it's really hard to kind of dedicate that effort and energy to those, areas that you're seeing success. I know you said you hired somebody, and I'd love to just kind of get an idea of you guys. Again, you guys started off as a 3-person group, right? We had L, T, and D, and now we're just down to T and D. So when did you guys, obviously, Dakota quits the job, comes on full time. When did you guys, and I think you said it was April, like when did that scale moment happen for you guys where it was just like, look, we want all the deals. We need more people to help us get those.
Yeah, we scaled multiple different times. So I would say the first part of when we scaled was when Tony went full time, because before that, it's like, all right, cool, let's send these, we'll do this. And it was kind of like, like we weren't taking it like consistent. It wasn't like serious. It was more just like, okay, cool, let's buy a couple deals, let's make this happen. And we'll do it as a side thing. And we'd go a month without doing anything. And then we'd like, hey, let's do something. And then, after we started doing it, like, hey, let's do this consistently. And then like Tony decided to quit his job. That was our first leap forward. So that was pretty big right there. And then like we started getting when Tony quit, that was when we started getting more consistent with the marketing, because like that's obviously what he's good at. So it's like, all right, let's freaking hit this consistently. Let's find out a way to actually do this all the time. So that was our first for our first like going up. Like that was a big deal for us. And then after that, I would say the next big one was when we found our first private money lender. He lent us money at 6.5%, which was crazy, which helped us to get more rentals. So that helped us go up. And then when I left in April, I would say that was when we started hiring people, and like that's when we exploded, because immediately I was like, all right, I need an assistant. Like as soon as I left, I was like, I need an assistant. Like we got to start, like I'm doing way too much of this transaction coordinator bull crap. So like, dude, it was crazy, like how much work we were doing. And then Tony's running around signing papers all the time. And like, we're trying to do appointments.
13 deals right now. Like, how could you do that without transaction coordination, without help?
Yeah.
Like, it's really, really tough at that point, right?
Yeah. Not just that, but also like okay, now I'm a salesman. Okay, now I'm a transaction coordinator. Now I'm the contractor, like making sure that he's doing what he's doing. Okay. Oh, dang. Now we need more deals again. Okay, let me be back to a salesperson. Then you got to go back and like, you can't get the flow. You're basically doing one job at a time.
Yeah. And that kind of leads me to the next question, because, I was kind of a one-man show. Well, not one-man show. I had an assistant. I had some people that worked for my team. And then I brought on Will a little more than a year ago. And then, he was definitely what I needed, my integrator, someone in my right-hand man, somebody that could really help me scale up and complemented my skill set. Now, it sounds like you guys both had complementary skill sets from the beginning, but how have your roles kind of evolved? And what does Tony do now? What does Dakota do now? And then how did that kind of change along the way? Because I think so many people like debate whether they should bring on a partner or not. And it just seems like you guys are such a deadly combination. Can you elaborate a little bit about that? Because I think it's really valuable.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting because I feel like it changes over time too. So like, like when I was at the dealership, obviously like Tony had to do a lot more of like the actual in-person stuff, because I had to be at the dealership as much as possible. So basically my role then was mostly like transaction coordinator, like anything that I could do at the computer and making all the phone calls, getting GCs and like stuff like that. And Tony was more like driving all over the place, signing papers, doing everything, being the runner, and then like the marketing and all that stuff. And then now, now we have an office. Tony works from home mostly, so he mostly gets everything set up as like marketing and stuff like that. And I guess Tony can talk more about what he does.
Yeah, I think too early on, Dakota and I I had my real estate license, but I decided to reinstate it because I wasn't really passionate about being a realtor. But Dakota got his license. I had my license. Then we needed a general contractor's license to pull permits, because we found out that the guy that we hired as a general contractor never had his license. So I got my general contractor's license, which is easier here in the Midwest. They're a lot more lenient in our county. I basically just had to take a test. I failed it the first time. I passed it the second time. And I could know fuck all about painting a wall. So, but
like, how many questions do I have to get right? 50 out of 100? All right, let's go for it.
Yeah, just take it as many times as you have to. I mean, that's huge. Like being able to pull your own permits is pretty dang nice. But besides that, when we were growing, people would always ask us who the visionary and who the integrator was. Dakota and I share those all the time. Like if it comes to like having a detailed Word document that needs to sound like a lawyer wrote it, like that's me. That's my thing. Like Dakota's like, hey, can you write this up? Be like, yeah, I'll come up with some big words. And then, when somebody starts getting crappy, like maybe we got to have Dakota talk to him, you know, like somebody, if we get a phone call from somebody and they need somebody to kind of be the bad cop, Dakota can call him and be like, listen, man, like, this is what we're doing. Like, lay down the law. He's the prices guy. Dakota's been doing the accounting work too. So he's also keeping the books while we've been struggling to kind of try to automate that a little bit more. But yeah, for the most part, I'm just here as a resource. You know, Dakota kind of took over the day-to-day operations, and then I'm a resource to him when he needs extra help with stuff. And then pulling the lists, getting the marketing out to our sales guy. And anytime we need emails, newsletters made, or emails sent out to our cash buyers list for wholesaling, or getting a listing ready, or talking to our photographer, you know, trying to coordinate things and figure things out, creating events. Like if we're going to start our own real estate investors association here in town. So excited to start some new projects, think about some new things, and go after some bigger deals too.
Yeah. And then I would say like Tony does more editing on like the videos for the podcast and stuff like that too, creating the descriptions for those. And then usually like the Instagram posts, that's something that I do. We were trying to, you know, sub that out and like get one of our employees to do it, but I felt like it was like not getting as much attention. It was more inauthentic because it's not actually us. I was like, you know what, let's just write it. Cause I feel like, you know, we got to tell the story about what actually happened here and help people do that. And then I would say that, yeah, once I quit, I kind of got into more of like almost a manager role, which was very weird for me, but just more like, okay, we need this person to do this. We need this person. I'm like more support for like the sales guy. I try to help the assistant. We have a transaction coordinator now who's like, I'm trying to get him to be the person that schedules all of it. So I'm hoping him transition to that role. And basically we're really just trying to like, I guess I'm trying to plug people in where it's going to work out and try to like take away as much responsibility from Tony and I as possible, to where we're working like as little as possible right now. I mean, still working like, you know, we're working right now, technically 7 o'clock here in Indiana. But it's not really work, but at the same time, I'm still in the office. So we still work a decent amount. At least I know I'm still working probably like 50, 60 hours, but I still love it. But we're trying to like cut down to where we don't have to if we don't want to. And so just trying to figure out those and put people in place. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, I know you guys are busy. Thank you guys for your time. We got a hard stop coming up in a couple of minutes. What I wanted to end with is just basically, how can, you know, the tribe find you? Is there anything we can do to help you? You know, I think that'd be great to end on that note, just because you guys are giving some great value, and you know, any way we can help you out, let us know. And then also, how can, you know, the people that have been attending reach out to you, find you, if you know, on what social and whatnot.
Dude,
Yeah, our Insta is at Tony and Dakota. Our Facebook is facebook.com/Tony and LTD Property Group LLC. That's our Facebook. And then what other social we got, Dakota?
I say, you can always follow. Yeah, you can follow our personal. You know, you can look us up on Instagram. We got YouTube. We got all of that stuff. And honestly, it would just help us a lot if you guys like, subscribed, and shared our stuff. That would help us a ton. Or if you guys really want to do us a real solid, leave us a 5-star Google review. And so type in LTD Property Group, Fort Wayne, Indiana. If you could leave us a 5-star review, that would be a game changer for us. That really helps us a lot and helps us connect with other sellers. So that would be awesome.
Yeah, and we got our podcast on all of the podcast apps. So anything like Spotify, any of those, you'll be able to find us.
Awesome. Will, do you have any final questions or
some killers, the Boakley brothers? So definitely do check out their podcast. I put their IG down in the chat, so you guys can feel free to go ahead and connect and follow up with these guys on Instagram as well. Alex, any kind of closing thoughts on these two absolute studs that we had on today and got to chat with here today?
I just want to say, appreciate you guys' time. I'd love getting to know you guys' story. You guys have inspired Will and I've seen you guys grow. I remember when Dakota was working at the job and at the first mastermind, you're like, oh man, I want to quit that thing. And seeing you quit that job, but quit in a good way, right? And also still have so much passion. I can see, can't wait to see what you guys do this year. Thank you guys for your time. And then we'll see all you deal makers next week. Go ahead and subscribe at
Dakota, can you real quick before we cut things out, just put in on the chat Dominic and a couple other folks are asking what that Google website is so that they can leave you guys reviews. So I know, everybody in here definitely appreciative of your guys' time. I know it's late for you guys out on the East Coast, so we appreciate you guys tuning in and joining us out here on the West Coast. And for those of you guys that are on your computers right now, if you get a chance, make sure you just go to Google Sites, Google Reviews, and you can type in LTD Property Group. That's their company name, and they will very much appreciate if you guys can give them a review out there. So I appreciate you guys.
Dude, thanks again, guys. You're awesome.
All right, guys, see you.